Hi, it's my aim to read a book every month this year and review each of the books at the end of every month. It targets myself and a couple of colleagues I've set, and this is me trying to keep up with it for the first month. And this book, Why Nations Fail, will be my first book to be reviewed. I haven't read it. It's a book written by Darren Asimoglu and James Robinson. It's about 500 pages, a little above that, and it has 15 chapters. So the book is basically talking about why nations fail. I mean, as the title suggests, it's trying to draw parallel between countries that are thriving and countries that are failing. And it tries to explain some of the reasons that influences why a country would do well, why people in a country would be prosperous, and why those in another would be poor. And one of the reasons given is the economic makeup of those either part of the country. And the author continuously used two terms. They said one is inclusive and one is extractive. Inclusive meaning they are people who have rights, and if they elect leaders, they could easily hold them accountable. The leaders that control their state wealth know that if they mess up, if they do not meet public requirements, they have the potential of being voted out. They have that constant fear. So they have that constant fear. Therefore, that's like the ultimatum they are given, and that's at the back of their mind whenever they are elected. So whatever they do, however they do it, what is on their mind is if we do not deliver, then we'll be voted out. So there is incentive to do good to the people. That fear is what drives the kind of a policy they set up, the kind of laws they make. While on the other side, the fact that people that are elected, that even if they are elected in some parts, people that are elected are not exactly held as much accountable as they should or as they are in the other side. So that means there is no incentive for them to be, there's nobody watching them, there's no watchdog on them, there's nobody that is holding them accountable. So they get away with many things. So in essence, the distribution of the wealth on each side, either side, would be affected. And while the author described it as extractive and also inclusive, the extractive is always a system that is designed for certain group of people. So it's what you call political elite, or maybe in Nigeria they will say cabal. So those are the people that are privileged, and they are very much tightly guarded. Laws are made to suit them. They enjoy monopoly. And I know when I'm saying these things, you probably would be able to pick one or two people that fit into that description in your country. In my country, in my mind, I know people that fit into those descriptions. They enjoy monopoly. Laws are designed to help them guard their political empire. Most times, they are often people with economic chestnuts. They are rich. So, in exchange for the kind of economic guard they give them, political guard they give them, they fund the political system. So that's how you see, or maybe during a party campaign, you see one big business tycoon donates millions of money, naira, dollar, to the campaign. That's because he's trying to fan his nest. He's trying to ensure that his political empire, now through economic means, are well secured. So that's the major thing. But then there is now the argument in the book that while nations, this is the underlying reason why people are poor and people are rich somewhere else. There were also instances, examples given, like South Korea and North Korea. The economic situation, the kind of purchasing power people in South Korea enjoy is different from that in North Korea. Of course, that's largely explained because you can own wealth in South Korea. You have freedom of expression. You have freedom of choice. You, if you have a talent, you can always. There are systems in there that can help you monetize your talents. Not so on the other side. They're just separated by border. And in fact, these are people who are brothers, more or less the same, just separated by geographical um, illustration. There is a school of thought that says the reason why people are poor is either geography, culture, or ignorance. So the book makes us understand that neither culture, nor geography, nor ignorance can explain the reason the nation is poor or rich. And that's to say, it's not because of an African culture that African people are poor. Neither is it because of the geography that make African people poor, nor is it because of ignorance. First, talk about ignorance. I mean, some of the leaders of Africa, some of the, I mean, not just the elected ones, but even the appointed ones, among some of the most educated people in the world. So, ignorance of those people necessarily does not explain why they are poor. And some of the policies these people, poor countries, put in place isn't often always informed because they are ignorant of what is happening. I mean, you can always see, you can always borrow a leaf from other countries that are rich to see how they thrive, what they are doing right and what they are not doing right. And now geography. It's not because African soil is so barren or South Asia um, climate is so bad for agricultural growth. No, that is not the reason why they are poor. And likewise, it's not because of culture. It's not an African culture to be impoverished. If we explain the wealth and the prosperity in the different part of the world today, in the Neolithic era, when the Middle East was thriving, but we had different empires, including the Ottoman Empire, there was a certain level of prosperity in that region. And then was more or less the time of the dark ages of the European society, or the reboots. They emerged from the ashes. They innovated, and that was why in the long run the industrial revolution began in England, and that's why it tells us that it's not so the over the years rich countries of today have once been poor, so to say. Poor countries of today, half of them have also belong to certain empires that were prosperous, so to say. So, but different things happens over the years. Extractive countries, extractive societies, that's the poor ones. Over time, if they are able to rethink their structure, the institutions of their country, they oftentimes may reach a level when they are able to also outlive their poverty or lift themselves out of poverty. But then there are some rich countries, prosperous empires that had once existed, but because of the extractive nature, it only serves certain set of people and not everybody. They regress. That's why we've had empires crumble. And that's because, I mean, you can think of almost just of recent, we have the Soviet Union. After years of wars and continuous domination, it crumbled and it's disintegrated. So that's to show either extractive or inclusive, you have to continue to push towards prosperity. But for as long as there's potential of regression, if you are a wealthy society today, if you do not continue to ensure inclusivity, and that's particular part of inclusivity is talking about a part of the book which says nations that allows innovation through economic institutions and that encourage private property, uphold contracts, create level playing ground, and allow the entry of businesses that can bring new technologies to life are more prosperous. That's why the US and not Mexico or Peru who are in the same axis produce somebody like Thomas Edison, and South Korea, not North Korea, produces technologically innovative companies like Samsung and Hyundai. So the fact that there is that patent placed on talent, people, if you have a talent, if you have an idea, there is already an incubator's community that can help you germinate it into great innovations, great discoveries. For countries that are open, that are inclusive, they have that potential of creating people that will change society, that will produce never seen before technologies. So in economic institutions, nonetheless, are created by society. It's not by fiat. North Korea was created by the communists, for instance, while Latin America's structure was created by the Spanish conquistadors. So it's just to show how different societies have existed, and the book basically just tells us how these things come to life, how people and different happenings in the world changes the entire world trajectory. And now this is my own observation. My thinking is the book dwell more on saying prosperity is often achieved through freedom, and that more or less suggests a liberal democracy. I mean, there was no mention of that, but the description fitted countries that were democratic. So that's meant authoritarian regime might never be able to achieve high level of prosperity. There was no clarity on whether or not it was possible for countries to transition from authoritarian regime then to liberal democracy. And it's difficult to know because the liberal democracies of today didn't start off as liberal democracy that passed through stages. Today then mean that 4 countries of today are in that phase of authoritarianism before they then transcend into liberalism. Perhaps that would have been one talking point I would have loved to see in the book. But overall, the book tells us that to be prosperous as a country, there have to be equal chances for everybody, level playing ground. If I have a talent, if I can sing, if I can read, if I can write, anything, it should be able to, there should be enabling environment for me to monetize it and to also use it to benefit myself and others. But for as long as there are countries that do not harness the human resources of its people, then they continue to get poor. And that's why I think you should read this book, to help you understand why your country may be rich. I wouldn't know which country you belong. For instance, I'm from Nigeria. I imagine my Nigerian people, if you read this, you probably will know why Nigerians are poor. And why maybe somewhere else, just across the Atlantic Ocean, maybe someone in the UK is perhaps richer. And when I say poor, I mean purchasing power, the fact that you cannot, your wants firstly are not entirely met. Not to talk of luxury that you would want, vacations, night out, day out, and what have you. So this book